Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the Atlas Orion Anamorphics and how to change their mounts. They are extremely similar to the Zeiss CP2s, which are the other lenses that we change the mounts on, but they have two main differences, which is why we're making the video today. The first difference is that we do not shim these lenses. Each lens has a pre-established set of shims that should be defined in its lens profile. Under no circumstance should they change. If you have issues with back focus with these lenses, consult a manager and we'll address that then, but you shouldn't have trouble with that as we've confirmed all those shims already. The second issue with them is that they do not feature a registration pin, meaning there's nothing to prevent the mount from swiveling or the shims within it from swiveling as you attempt to attach the mount. So we require an extra tool. You'll see I already have my T6 torque wrench, my set of tweezers, and this tool here. This lives at the lead gear tech station, and it's a special 1.3 millimeter hex wrench. We're actually not going to be using the hex side of it, but it's going to act as a guide as we drop our mount down onto the lens so that it maintains the proper alignment for the shims and the mount. So I've preemptively already loosened my screws on my mount here. One thing to note, the mounts for the Atlases do sit very, very snug around the rear element, so be mindful of that as you're removing and attaching the mount. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this off. Looks like one of my screws needs backed out just a little bit more. I always like to put my screws into my cap so that I don't lose them. It's important that you keep all of your screws in the same place so we have them to reattach our mount. Now I'm going to go ahead and take out these shims so you can see why we're going to do this next part. So there's no registration pin or anything to prevent this from swiveling within the mount, and because of that, each of these shims, which this lens has two of them, can swivel independently as well as the mount swivel on top of it. So it's going to be tough to align that as we drop our mount down. What I find is easiest to first align all of your shims together with the proper alignment. So I'm going to take my orange tool here and I'm just going to lightly touch inside the hole on my first shim, and I'm going to align my shims together first. Once my shims are aligned, I can then align the shims for the screw holes underneath. There we go. And we're swapping in the EF mount on this. The PL mount is the easiest to change, as the PL mount will only mount in one given position. The EF, though, we have to be mindful of the horizon of the lens. This is an anamorphic lens, so the elements squeeze the image, so we want to ensure that it's squeezing the image in the proper direction. To do that, we want to find the horizon level for the lens. The Orions make it fairly simple. There's a small orange arrow on the side of the lens that corresponds to the horizon level for that lens. I like to point that towards myself, so I always know where that direction is. We can also tell by looking at our lettering on the lens, as we're going to be able to read that as if I'm an AC on the side of the lens for lens swaps and things like that. So I'm going to align that towards myself as if I'm on the left side of the camera. Then if we look at our EF mount, you'll notice there's a small red dot and a hole for the registration pin on the EF mount side. That pin corresponds with the horizon level of the lens. So what we're gonna do when we drop this down is align that registration hole with the orange arrow at our horizon level here. That will ensure that we're dropping the mount down in the proper direction. And to do that, I take my orange tool here. I'm gonna find the hole just to the top of that registration, and I'm gonna drop this right through. And this is gonna act as that guide as we drop our mount down. So I'm going to then line this up in the screw hole just above our registration or our horizon arrow, and I'm gonna drop this down. Now, as I said, these sit very snug, so you may need to do a very slight rocking motion on the mount. You want to be very gentle as you do this because you don't want the lens to stress the rear element in any way. We just want it to very lightly drop down onto the lens. Once you've done that, take one of your screws and drop that in. And we're gonna go ahead and give that a half tighten. We don't wanna tighten it all the way down, as we will attach the mount in the same star fashion as we do our CP2 lens mounts, but that will lock everything in so we can remove our guide and then can attach the mount fully, just like normal. The peel mount is just the same, but as I said, it's only going to attach in one direction. So find that direction, pick a screw hole, and use your guide to drop it down. If you have questions on this, find a manager, they can guide you through it, but that's everything you need to know to change Atlas Orion mounts.